Hey and welcome to the devlog of my first mobile game. I'm still quite new to the whole YouTube aspect of things. If you haven't seen my introduction video yet, I'd recommend you watch it to have a better understanding of my previous experiences, why I chose to start a YouTube channel, and that I'm actually not an indie game developer. I'm currently just expanding my skill set by developing games and started working on this neat little car game for mobile devices since a month now. Well, actually I've spent a week working on it. It's because I'm in the middle of a quite hectic period for me in my personal life and I can't seem to make time free for it on a steady basis. But a long story short, I've installed Unity about a month ago because I saw some indie game posts coming my way that inspired me a lot. I've worked with Unity before, maybe 2 years ago, but this was only for the span of 2 months. And before that, I've once played with GameMaker as a kid, so I had a little knowledge of what I was doing, but not really much. I went on YouTube and searched for tutorials to start my first game with. I had no idea what I wanted to make, but I just wanted to follow a couple tutorials first. I found Brackeys tutorial right away and followed it exactly to create a neat little game. A cube that has to avoid obstacles, and that's it. When I was done with the tutorial, I immediately thought, hey, let's change that cube to a car. And right then and there, I decided to create a whole game around this tutorial base. I'm sad to say that I don't have footage from when I started the project because it wasn't my intention to even start recording the progress. But this is where it stands at this moment. This is how it started, and this is how it's going. So we came quite far from a red cube. As I don't have footage from when I started the project, I can't really express the problems that I came across in making this and the solutions that I found to solving those. But let me tell you, I came across the weirdest problems that were so specific that I really thought that I was the only one in the world experiencing these. And this was mainly because of my weird code. It was all over the place, and as you can see, it still is. The hierarchy also doesn't make sense for me anymore. I have so many game objects in the scene that it's like solving a puzzle whenever I need something. So the first thing on the agenda is cleaning up. Like I said, it's quite a hectic period for me at the moment, so I don't know when I'll have time to work on this game again, but that will be the first thing to happen. Clean up the code and hierarchy because it's really annoying working like this. Also, I have to mention that all of the assets I've used are from the asset store. Some are free and some are paid, but I don't know if these will stay in the final product. I'd rather have original graphics, but since 3D modeling is not my strongest point and it's also quite time consuming, that I had to give myself a head start by using assets from the asset store. I'll give you a quick run through of the main menu. So the car that pulls up at the start will always be updated to the car that you've chosen at that moment. I really loved it when I got this feature to work. It makes it a less basic start screen, I guess. I played a lot with the camera animations to get these effects when transitioning to the garage and so on. I want to add a mechanic or two in the garage as extra detail, but I still have to get to that point. I also want to add a lot more features, but I don't really know what yet. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. And here we have the car select screen. Like I said, the car that you pick here will also update the car that will be shown at the start screen. I also want to add a lot more cars, but 3 is a perfect starting point for development and testing purposes. This is how the upgrade menu looks like at the moment. I still need to add a lot more things, so I'm looking into creating more upgrades. And also I have to mention the buttons don't do anything at all at the moment. They only show the current value. Let's head back to the game. So the game is actually all about getting to the end point. I want to create a lot of levels and that will be challenging on their own and slowly get harder to finish. I'm currently still playing around with only 2 levels, but that's because I really want to finish all the aspects of the game before I go on to adding more levels. As in, I still have some features to implement that would be very hard to achieve if I already made more levels with the current setup. Then it's doomed for me to be a more difficult job to finish. So I want to test out all the features and elements in these 2 levels and perfect check them before I continue to make more levels. The current most important things that are done are enemy obstacles that ride the opposite way of you, and I've made them so that I can simply add a script to a prefab for it to work. So at the moment I'm just using trucks as the obstacle, but these can be civilian cars or even motors for variety. I've also created a trigger game object that I can put in front of walls so that when the truck will hit the trigger, it will change lanes and prevent a collision. This was very hard for me to implement. I remembered that the truck always hit the trigger twice, even if I worked with a variable, but at the end, we've succeeded. I also added a lot of pop-up text with animations when you have a bit of airtime or do a stunt. These are accompanied with a score amount and add up to your total score when the animation ends. I've made a bunch more animations for the trees to reveal at the start of the level and also for the board that says level 1. That was maybe one of the first things added to the scene. As you can see, it doesn't fit the current visuals at all, so I really have to change that. I've created an ending zone, and I really don't know what else to mention because I can tell you about every single small detail, but I don't know if that will be interesting. I plan on adding a lot of cool features and also want to dive into post-processing at a point to get some better looking graphics, but that's for another video. This is where we stand at this point, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment, and if it's a great idea for the game and possible for me to implement, then I'd love to add it. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on social media. Have a great day. I'm signing off.